This is a detailed video on the process of turning a boring dining table into a Madhubani masterpiece. This might look like a very boring basic pinewood table, but in its prime it looked fantastic. I have a solid teakwood dining table which I have moved to the studio because I need something big to work on, and I needed another dining table for the dining area, so this is what I have. Since it's not precious wood, I decided that I could experiment with it, and it's going to get like a nice little makeover. First things first, painting on wood needs primer. I'm using Asian Paints True Care Wood Primer. The instructions are on the can itself. So whenever you buy paint, primer, whatever, ensure that you read the instructions properly. The primer has to be shaken well because the thick lumps settle at the bottom if it's kept for too long, and then the top will be too watery. So it's important to really shake it up and mix. I did not have a wooden stick to stir it, so screwdriver it is. I think the only reason I retain restaurant takeout dabbas are so that I can use them for paint and primer. The instructions said that you need to thin the primer down with a paint thinner. So I'm going to pour the required quantity of primer into this restaurant takeout box and then add the required quantity of paint thinner. Now, whenever you are working with paint or primer or anything that needs additive, even water based, let's say there's a paint and it says put 20% water into it. Never put water into the large container itself. Always take the required amount of paint or primer and mix water only to that. The table has been cleaned, so it's time to do the primer. Now you can see there are a little screw holes in the pinewood itself. We are going to fix that, but the first thing that really needs to be done is the primer. So no matter what finish you're going to put on top of those holes, it's important to do the primer first. So even we do this even on walls. When a large amount of putty has chipped off, we clean it up. We put a coat of primer first, let it dry, and only then do a coat of putty, because then the putty holds on really well. So we are going to put putty on this one too. So here it is. I'm using regular wall putty, no fancy wood filler, nothing. And I'm going to mix it with potable water and make it into a nice smooth paste. I know there are fancier products available these days, but putty works just fine. And in fact, when the fancier products were not there, contractors used putty to smoothen wood out. Everything that's painted, you can always putty it so that all of the rough edges smooth out. And just like how you would putty on the wall, you take a little bit of putty and fill into those holes with putty blade. I don't know why I don't have a clip of me applying the putty on it, but it's pretty straightforward. It's like a slightly thicker than a dosa batter. You just swipe it on the hole. Let me know if you want a clip of how to fill those holes. I know not many people do this kind of work or see this kind of work, so I'll be happy to make a YouTube short. Now, the idea for this table is to have a Madhubani kind of motif, like a tree of life on it. So I told my vision to Gemini and it gave me this wild design. I needed a Madhubani tree of life with birds and flowers. And since it's a dining table, I didn't want the tree to be oriented one side. I wanted the trunk to be on all sides. This design looks really wild and detailed, but putting this prompt within Gemini and getting this image sort of simplified the design in my head. So I didn't want the trunk to come from all four sides. I would rather have it from two sides and then have floating leaves with floating flowers and birds in between. And the legs, of course, are crazy. I'm going to keep the legs as is, and my design will flow into the table from the wider side, and since I have these slates cuts into the dining table wood, it's easier for me to measure, and it's easier to have the trunk only on two sides and moving upwards into the middle of the table. We were looking for birds, and on Pinterest we found this bird design which we plan to steal. So yes, this dining table design is actually a bunch of AI and us and Pinterest and a whole lot of things. And this is the flower that we chose to put. I have been wanting to do a Gond deer set on the wall, like a large size one. Maybe that is going to be the next project. Anyway, a couple of things have happened here. One, the putty has been sanded and smoothed, and a fresh coat of primer has been applied on top of it. So the putty is actually sealed in between two layers of primer. Now we printed out our little Pinterest bird, and since it had both sides, like one facing one side and the other, so we decided to use those birds. And then I'm just randomly placing the trunks, of course, are going to come in the center of the table. So on sides I'm drawing or rather tracing out the birds. So we're going to have 4 birds in 4 different corners. And I've used a regular printer to print out the design to the scale that I wanted. And I'm using regular blue transfer paper to transfer the design onto the table. And here is our little birdie. So there we have it, 4 birds looking towards each other, towards the center of the table where the trunk is. Here I've hand drawn the trunk, if you can see, just pencil sketches. And then I randomly drew the flowers by hand. And the rest of the entire table is going to be filled with leaves. Now I've cut out this leaf from a cardboard. It's again hand drawn and just randomly done. So we're just going to be placing the leaf in whichever way we want, and they're all not going to be in one direction. They'll all be one side of the table are going to be facing down, and then the other side will be facing on the other side. You will see when we show you the final result. So I don't know how many leaves are there, probably hundreds of them, but yeah, we had to take that time out to draw all of those leaves by hand, because especially when there is something that has repetition, you tend to get tired after a while, and then your leaves kind of go wonky and shapeless and whatever. We are using acrylic paint here, and we started to paint the birds first. This is Nisha working on the birds, and you can see me in the corner still doing the leaves. Before we do anything on the table, the primer needs to dry completely, at least 24 hours I would say, because how well you prep your furniture, the top design depends on how good your prepping is. So you can make beautiful designs on top, but if you've not prepped your furniture properly, not given it enough primer, not given enough time in between coats, then there are chances that your paint peels off, or even it doesn't take the paint at all properly and becomes a mess. So always prepare well and take more time preparing, so that you have like a stress-free DIY experience. So on the leaf, I'm painting half green. This is, I think, sap green or leaf green. It's camel artist acrylic color in permanent light green. So here it is, half and half. On the other half of the leaf, I plan to do the lines, the signature Madhubani lines. Even though this is like a back-breaking work, which means you are painting hundreds of leaves. It's extremely therapeutic. You can put on some, what do you say? You have these productivity music these days on YouTube, and you can put those on and just paint away. I know your back is going to be sore, your hands are going to be sore, but this is probably the best experience of painting I've ever had. Last year, when I painted the bedroom, I did most of the work in the night, and it was so calm and therapeutic. Yeah, if you have a chance, this is the best stress buster. This is so much cheaper than a therapist and 100% paisa vasool. I painted the frame black to frame the entire tree of life, and the leaf on the other side is supposed to be white, and then the texture, the black lines are going to come on the leaf. The background also I plan to turn into white, so basically the entire base is going to be white, and the leaves, half of the leaves are going to be white, and then the black texture is going to come on top of it. I'm planning to use a black acrylic marker pen, and for some reason I thought that it will be a great idea to use a thick marker. So this is what I'm using, acrylic paint marker. They're going to be slant lines on the white part of the leaf. The leaf is of course going to be outlined with the black as well. So here I am confidently heading for disaster, and in spite of seeing that it's going to be terrible, I continue. I don't know what I was thinking, but I realized that this looks horrendous, and at this point the table is going to look like a cartoon, amateur kindergarten, I don't know what, but it was at this point that this project was abandoned. This table gets heavy usage every single day. You can see that the primer has yellowed a little bit, but the acrylic colors are absolutely intact. There's a little bit of haldi stain in some place, but nothing is scratched, nothing has worn off. Everything looks great, just waiting for somebody to take charge. We started the project on April 21st of this year, and now in October we took it up again. Several times in between I wanted to just paint it all up and turn it into a plain white or maybe black table. Black would have been too big, but plain white table, but somehow I didn't do it. And this time I asked Nisha if we should repaint it or we should finish it, and she said let's finish it. So here we are, getting ready to refinish this table. After we completely wiped the table clean, we touched up some of the paints wherever it needs to be done. The leaves of course needed a second coat. The ugly leaf that had the black acrylic marker we painted over with white, and this is where I'm leaning on it. That white is actually transferring right now onto my t-shirt. So remember I told you about prepping your piece really well so that it holds on. The 2 layers of primer and whatever acrylic paint that went on it is holding on so well. This table gets very heavy usage every single day. All the puja items are on it, water, whatnot. And except for the primer itself yellowing a little bit, it looks absolutely perfect. Nothing has worn off. We actually picked it up from where we left 6 months ago and started to move forward. Whenever there is repetitive work, the best way to get things done is to ensure that you are doing only one task at one time. So the first thing we did was we completed doing the second coat on all of the leaves. Also, you get into the groove after a couple of leaves, so it gets done faster. Now, like I mentioned before, the leaves, the other half of the leaf is going to be white, and also the background is going to be white. So I needed something that will differentiate between the shape of the leaf, because if we paint white all through, then we lose the outline of the sheet of the leaf itself. So I thought, why not draw? I got a thinner acrylic pen, a 0.7 mm Posca pen. So I thought, why not draw out the outline of the leaves and then do the white on top, so that even if we paint on top of the white, on top of the black line, I'm going to be able to see the outline and redo it. It seemed like a brilliant idea at this point, but when you are doing hundreds and hundreds of leaves, at some point you lose interest and you're like, okay, let me wing it from here. This Posca pen, this thickness seems perfect. This is the 0.7 mm Posca. I found it on Amazon and I realized that there are a lot more cheaper options available locally. Right where we are working, I have a bunch of moringa leaves air drying. In Bangalore weather, I air dry moringa for about 10 days until the moisture is completely out. Then I can add it to dal, dosa, khichdi, whatever. Another scene of my post-Diwali balcony. Have I told you it's not possible to live like a designer home all the time? Once we completed the green second coat, the leaf second coat, we went about doing the white. I know I have told this 5 times at least in this video. I think so, but I'm going to tell it to you a 6th time. Please, 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 if you have a remote thought that you would want to paint, then I suggest pick up a Tree of Life. Doesn't matter your painting skills or level, just pick up a subject which has repetitive leaves or patterns or something, and sit in silence and paint. You don't have to show it to anybody, you don't have to display it. Sit in silence and paint away. It is the best thing that can happen to your mental health. And this thing is so needed today. Maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't be so pushy about you doing something like this, but it is so important in today's day, the way the world is changing almost every single hour. It's important to calm your mind and be still and do something, so that you don't go crazy like the rest of the world. So please, this is probably the only thing that keeps me from murdering people. So here it is. We've painted the other half of the leaf and the background all white. It looks nice and bright. I can see the border of the leaf where I've drawn the border, and after a while I got tired of it. So those leaves, I'm just going to wing it, which I think is also going to give it a very the quality of hand-drawn feeling. As you can see, our background is completely done, and the next task is going to be to outline the leaves with our 0.7 mm Posca. Now here's another tip that I would like to give you if you are going to attempt something like this and you have multiple people working. Some of these things, like doing the final detailing, is a one-hand job, which means if one person starts the detailing, they finish it completely. Because as soon as 2 people start to do the detailing, you can see the difference in the painting. So here I have completed all the outlines. As you can see, it looks lovely. The white, I need to fill in the lines, but I've completed most of it. So I did the detailing and I realized that I could also work in the night. So for your project to look cohesive, it's important that the detailing is done by one person. It's the next day and I worked late in the night to complete the detailing, and you can see, even though there are multiple mistakes on this, it looks cohesive when you zoom out. That's the beauty of doing something that has crazy repetition. All of the leaf detailing is complete. What is left is the border. I want to do a stencil kind of a thing. The idea is for this piece to match the piece on the wall. We've cut out a little stencil here, which is two sides of the border, and then we plan to have this flower going all around the four sides, and probably at the bottom as well. And then once that design is fixed, then we will see what more we want to add, or if we want to keep it that way. For the background, I did not want to use acrylic color because I would be using a lot of it. I'm using water-based enamel from Asian Paints. This is the box. This entire box cost, I think, 400 something. This color is called weathered white. In the bottle itself, it looks a little aged, but it looks pure white on top. Stencil samples have gone up. It looks pretty, and since they are going to be right next to each other, we have to wait for the stencil to dry and only then do the next one. So it's going to be like a ringa roses, taking the stencil and the paint around. We're using a foam roller and gently rolling the paint on top, and in case there are bleeds, it can be immediately fixed. So this is how it's going to be, all sides. This is the ringa roses I was talking about. Instead of wasting time waiting for the stencil to dry, I was going around the table and doing the stencil. Also, it was a nice bright day in Bangalore. Not cloudy as it was a couple of days ago, as it was yesterday. Early morning winter sun in Bangalore is actually absolutely stunning. Quick update on how our little stencil project looks around. Looks pretty good. And while I was at the stencil work, Nisha was actually putting dots on the side. That tiny little detail actually looks so much better. What she is using is an acrylic dot mandala tool, and when you are doing something on the sides, on the vertical surfaces, it tends to bleed. So you have to be careful, wipe them off and then redo. Once the dots were done on the side, we decided it looked absolutely beautiful and decided to do two layers on top. Here is the one closer to the frame, and then we also did outside the frame. So while she was doing this, I had to tackle the tree trunk. The trunk is painted with the color burnt sienna, and I need to give it another coat so that it looks nice and solid. And then in the white portion, we need a little detailing, and of course the birds need detailing. After the second coat on the trunk, I looked on the other side. That border looks absolutely beautiful. The last bit of detailing is on the trunk. You can see that I've already done one portion of it. From not being able to draw a straight line to freehanding this thing, I've come a long way. And if I actually had to zoom in and show you how this is working, you'd see that this is the lines are totally wiggly and not straight. It works for me, and I'm focused on trying new things, and if I fail or if it turns out terrible, I'm okay with it. At this point, I was supposed to stop and start a time lapse of completing the detailing. but I totally forgot to press record and only realized when I had to paint. This is the last bit of detail for the tree. And with the last bit of border completing, this project is 99% done. What else remains to be done is, of course, there needs to be a top coat, which will be put after 24 hours of completely drying this piece out. We will not be using this for at least 2 days now. There will be at least 4 to 5 coats of water-based polyurethane put on top with at least 4 to 6 hours gap in between. That will ensure that a usable surface like a dining table is well equipped to handle the stress that it goes through every single day. That and more is going to happen in the next video, because I see that this video is already 30 minutes long. But right now, nothing should stop us from enjoying how beautiful this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.